let me just see. I need to check if I'm live. I have this really weird system because my phone was dying and my computer is not, so I'm charging the telephone from the computer. Let's see. Live chat. Okay, good. Okay. Please write if you can hear me. All right, I see myself on the screen, so that means I'm live. Hi guys. I know that it's a weekday, so okay, yeah. Wait. So Schumann and Kit Higginson are here. Hi. Okay, you were 4, but now you are 2. I came only like 1 minute too late. Anyway, how is your day, everybody? I'm doing good. Oh, James Lightbringer, you made it. I've been reading this book about autism, about women on the spectrum. And as you can see, I have like 20 different post-it notes of things. Like I'm studying this really intensely. And there's a lot of, oh, Gorvo. Well, Carm, I don't know what to call you. Gorvo 31. Yeah, so I've been reading this book and about autism, and it's just so relatable that I just basically bookmarked every page. So at this point it's not useful anymore because every page is a bookmark. But yeah, it was pretty insightful. I'm only 3/4 of the way through it, but it really was. Oh, Carm, yeah, we love you, Carm. A great support to all the INFP channels out there. Yes, I was looking at this book, and it's about women with high functioning autism. It also talks about like really like the history of like, well, how Dr. Asperger was actually pretty shitty guy. And it talks about the history of, well, children being taken away by fairies as changelings, and how medieval people would think of people with autism. And then it talks about like the sort of problems that a person with autism can encounter, especially if they're a woman. It talks about how people in the Middle Ages thought that elves were talking through these, well, fools. So through the autistic people, because autistic people would like invent words, and I'm guessing a lot of NFs were part of those fools. But it is kind of nice that they accepted them, even though they accepted them not as humans, but as like magical creatures. So they would go and try to change, like exchange their changeling child to like their real child. But there was a story where that a lot of people listened to, that if you treated the changeling nicely, then you would, if you treated that changeling, this troll or this elf, nicely, then the troll mother would treat your own child nicely. So people treated autistic people better in the Middle Ages than they did during Dr. Asperger's time, because Asperger was Nazi, and he well, he didn't claim to himself to be a Nazi, but he gave 800 children to a Nazi doctor in the concentration camps. And it ends up that actually he stole a lot of ideas from a Russian Jewish woman doctor who actually made much better claims about autism than Asperger himself. For example, Asperger thought that autism was because of frigid mothers, that mothers would be cold towards their children, and by being cold towards their children, then they would create this autistic child. Well, Sukareva, I think her name was, she knew that it was like the brain was born that way. And that's the theory that is still applied today. So yeah, yet another woman who was bypassed by history. But I found that really interesting. And then it talks a little bit about like how special interests can be different between boys and girls, and how girls sometimes are really interested in a celebrity, or in My Little Pony. I do remember being really interested in My Little Pony. I was also really interested in dinosaurs. I think that all kids kind of have these interests, but it's interesting to know that, well, like these special interests don't need to be trains, you know, that's the common thing. So let's see if I can go through the bookmarks. Please ask questions about anything, because otherwise you'll get bored of me talking about autism and this book. So it says in this book that the autistic woman might like be able to do a dissertation about theoretic philosophy, but she has to think every time that she cuts a piece of bread, which is like ridiculously relatable, but okay. So somebody who has to sleep for a day after meeting friends. That's the definition of every introvert, but okay. And then it says, neurotypical people usually go through daily activities as an automatic thing, like cooking food or brushing your teeth. It's often a routine, so it doesn't take a lot of energy. But autistic people have a like not a equal profile of intelligence. So they can be really competent in a certain thing, but really not competent in other things. And so that's why it's hard for me to brush my teeth. I have to think about it every time, and that's kind of sucks. And they talk about how the stereotype is a anemic, manly gamer who seldom leaves his apartment, and who is really great at Rubik's Cube, and who watches Big Bang Theory, which Big Bang Theory is a terrible representation for like autism, but okay. And the person who wrote this book is a woman who is autistic, but she doesn't like numbers, and so she's not great at math, and that is pretty relatable for me, because like the stereotype of autistic people is that we have problems with that. Okay. Let's see. What else? Well, they interview different people and of different ages and stuff. And one of them says that she felt better around animals than out in society, which makes sense. She's really into green stuff, and she always paints green stuff. Yeah. And she makes all of these little pine cones that she paints and stuff. That's kind of cool. She has a lot of different ideas. I think that this person has ADHD as well. Okay, James Lightbringer is good at math, but you hate it. Well, yeah. I don't know what I think of math anymore, because I had to do like really high level math in high school, like the highest level that you could do pretty much. Um, it wasn't really of any use to me in the future. Um, Whenever I do something wrong, there's always somebody to correct me. So the pharmacy, the people at the pharmacy, they tell me if something has gone wrong. Like, whoops, you prescribed a double amount of dosage on this medicine. So it's good that they say to me, but um, I'm not really good with dosages. I'm not really good with percentages either. Anyway, here then it says that synesthesia is more common with autistic people, and it's because they have weird neurological couplings between the hearing site, for example, and the visual site, that kind of thing, the optic nerve. And it talks about how people's voices can be of different colors, which is something that I have. And she talks about how you can't filter anything. It's what I called, or not what I called, what Neurodivergent Magic on YouTube called the brain secretary. Then it talks about being a woman with autism. It means that you don't have contact with your body. So every month your period comes like a surprise. And that's true for me. I'm like, what's going on? Why am I feeling this way? Why does my stomach hurt? Did I eat something weird? And it's like this every month. And every month I get surprised. And everybody's like, just write it in your calendar. And I'm like, but it's not even, regular enough that I can put it in a calendar. So like, yeah, I know that doctors are annoying about that, about asking about when your last period was, because I know that I myself would never be able to answer that. I ask all my patients that when they come for gynecological problems, but yeah, I'm pretty hypocritical, am I? And then it comes, and then it says like, if I go, like, if I'm sick, it's only when I'm like really late, really late, that I go to the doctor. Wait, somebody wrote something. Don't have any questions right now. I know even less about autism than I do about ADHD, so I like to listen. Yeah, well, I mean, I can talk about ADHD too. I just happen to be reading a book about autism. I went to the library and I just did that, like, I went crazy. I went and got all the books about autism, all the books about ADHD, and I took them home, and then I did a sorting, and then I brought some of them back. Because some of them are kind of hocus pocus, kind of not real great stuff. There was a book called Aspergirls that was in English, so I thought, well, this is great. But it's kind of like they were still into like the stuff about gluten-free being good for autism, that kind of thing, which it has not been proven, really. And kind of treating autism as like a superpower, which, yes, it can make you really smart at things, but it's kind of demeaning in a way to think of it as a superpower, I would think. I don't want to speak for any autistic people, but we want to be considered human, not like, well, a robot. So that's it. Okay, let's see. Now let's go to the next page. Oh, this one was interesting. It's about how people, mostly women, often proudly, like they say with pride that, oh, they can't go around with nothing to do. They have to always be doing something. and this the writer here gets really annoyed, and I get really annoyed with that too, because I'm like, well, I can think up things to do, but it's like I also want to be able to take it easy, and it's like I like doing things with my hands, but I don't want to do it whenever. It's just a lot of women knit and that kind of thing. But I like a little bit of downtown time where I don't need to do anything productive, you know. And it's just like the writer is like, you can keep on going until the rest of your life, you know. So, and there are certain things that you have to do. So there are chores. So eat, make your bed, brush your teeth, and those things are difficult for autistic people. But sometimes they might, like ADHD people, might get into hyper focus on a certain thing. For example, me with this book. Yeah, I didn't mean to have so many post-its. Anyway. And this is the thing that was the most relatable in this whole book, and I'm like, what's going on? And I actually called my psychologist. She's going to call me tomorrow. And I said I need to go further with the diagnosis process. Last week I said like, no, I don't want to. But this quote made me realize that I can't just keep going the rest of my life without knowing. So it's these automatic things. And the author says that for her, things aren't automatic. So every time that she has to lock the door, or every time that she has to put on the oven, that she has to cut vegetables, which is difficult for me. Every time she's like, oh, how do we do this again? And it feels like you're doing something for the first time, even though you might have done it before. And this is where it was most eerily similar to me, is that I wish that I were like my friends that could bring people for dinner and like make food while people are talking to me, and doing it in like a calm manner. But this isn't possible for her. She can't like cut the vegetable at the same time that she's talking, that she's thinking, that she's answering, that she has somebody else in her house. And she said that she never invites anybody for dinner, and that the energy it takes is too big, and she has to sleep for like 2 days after. So yeah, that is my biggest problem. So that is this book, just, it's crazy. And then we have another example of a 77-year-old woman who's a professor, and she's learning how to use an iPhone, because she's old, but she needed it for her job as a professor. And so she had written an own manual for how to use the phone, and she wrote, when the telephone needs to be like unlocked, and that the 9 eggs show themselves, draw your finger a U. Draw a U with your finger. And the eggs were the buttons that are on the screen. It's 9 eggs, because they're 9 circles with smaller things inside. So she called them eggs. And she had these instructions for how to use her phone, but like not in the way that the instruction manual would tell you to use a phone. And it does talk about this a little bit later in the book, about how, whoa, 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 whoa. Oh la la. Nobody saw that. Nobody saw that. Oh God. I have too many books. That is the problem. Hope you guys are feeling okay. You guys on my phone. Okay. Oh God. I have my phone stacked on top of 5 books, and then I have 4 books here, and then I have this book here. And my phone is dying. Yes, help. Oh God. Okay. Well, I hope I didn't crush you guys. Nobody was hurt. Thanks, Gorbo. My phone wasn't hurt either, so it works. Oh, okay. Let's see. I'm going to do this without pulling the cable that's on the phone. Let's go back to where we were. I was looking at like the metaphors, because there's a whole chapter that's about how words mean so much more in autism. Okay, let's just go in order, because I can't do this. Okay, so we were here. Okay, and this is somebody who's in a Facebook group for a woman and non-binary autistic people. Why do people scream at concerts? Okay. And there it talks about how the problem isn't that they don't have empathy. It's just that women who have less empathy, it's not really well seen. So that's why autistic women learn to use their cognitive makeup to be empathetic. But the problem is, for a lot of autistic women, is to have a woman friend, a female friend. And yeah, most of my friends are male. It's just hard when these women have been telling me how to be and social and stuff. And it's hard, because also you get misunderstood if you're autistic. You get misunderstood if you're an INFP, obviously, as well. Because our brains don't exist in the same world as the sensor people. And this person, when she was a child, would often let other people decide things because she knew that she would otherwise get into a conflict. She didn't want anybody to get irritated if she was too honest with people. And I can say that I'm a little bit like that. At least as a child. I know how to say things better now, but as a child it was hard because I was just so honest and naive. So it was hard with relations. And then she talks about how how loyalty is a big thing for autistic people, but that she realized that she was putting too high expectations on her friends because of that. And she couldn't understand the social codes and stuff. And then it says, well, the more high functioning you are, the better you are at playing nice, but then you lose a lot of energy from that. And then it comes a quote from Greta Thunberg, who is a famous autistic woman. And she says, sometimes it feels like we with Asperger or autism are the only ones that can see through the clouds and or the fog. And that makes sense. I think the INFPs can feel that way as well. And Fs in general, I think. We can see through things that the general population of SJs can't see. and then there's a funny quote about like coronavirus and how it was kind of funny to see the neurotypical SJs, extroverts, try to live when like it's been the introvert's life all along. So that was kind of funny. I'm getting bored out here, so please write. I don't want to talk about this book. I've been so immersed in this book all day. Anyway, and then it says like how autistic people get into conflict is that they'll be really honest, but they won't have like a subtext under it. So they'll be like, oh wow, there's a lot of trash in here. And the meaning is just like, oh, you're just surprised that there's trash. But the other person might think that you hate their apartment and think that they're dirty people or something. So that's difficult to navigate. Here it talks about something that's interesting. It's about how common metaphors don't really work for autistic people. And I think that this is something that also applies to INFPs, is that like, we don't have FE, we have FI, and we have NE, and so then we like create our own metaphors, but we aren't as familiar with like the metaphors that other people use as common language. So this person does not drive a car, she hasn't been in the military, and she's not interested in war or in sports. So she doesn't understand the metaphors or she understands it intellectually, but not like, she doesn't really feel connected to these metaphors that people use about these things. So when somebody says, oh, that this day was like a 30 road, which is something that you can say in Swedish, 30 kilometers an hour, basically. And she starts wondering like, oh, what does that mean? Is it good that it's going slowly, or is that fast, or is that slow? Does this person want to go slow or fast? And starts getting into all sorts of overthinking about it. But they come up with their own metaphors, such as the eggs that this old woman was using for the like buttons on her phone. And it's like symbols that don't make sense to the general population. And let's see, here we're talking about, there's a TED talk that says that actually autism is not just about problems, it also just everybody's brain is a little bit different. Let's see, and so the problem might not be inside each person, it might be in the society that we live in that is not made for you, that is not wait, Harm, what are you saying? Are you autistic quiz once and got 19 out of 25? Indicated probably being on spectrum. Though it must be a wide spectrum, since you could have asked, are you a shy introvert as well? Yes. So the way that you get an autism diagnosis is that you have to have over a certain amount of criteria. And we all have autistic traits, but you have to have a certain amount of them in order to count as autistic. And you need to also have had it since birth, basically, or at least in your childhood and afterwards. But yes, a lot of it is just being an introvert and being a sensitive, shy introvert. That is what she says at the very beginning of this book, actually. The first page, I think, is that if you were a child who was gifted, shy, and sensitive, risky is that you are maybe autistic. Or you could just be a shy introvert and not be autistic. There are many other factors put into play. So then it talks a little bit about how women are invisible, how only 7% of money that is for studies about autism is about how to make the world easier for autistic people. Most of it is going towards genetic testing and how to prevent autism from existing altogether, which is kind of sad for our, well, neurological diversity. And 20% went to actually treatments for autism, basically things that don't work because autism can't be cured and shouldn't be thought of something as to be cured. And then they gave an example of a woman who never was in an intimate relationship, and I relate with that. That's all I will say. Then I talked a little bit about the brain and how her brain had like a really like a smaller cerebellum and a bigger white substance, and it had like a more brain mass in the left part of the brain, and how she and how there was a part in the brain that's called the insula, that is how to it couples the outer world and the inner world, and then makes the feelings that we have, so emotions. Then obviously Emily Dickinson is featured, and she says much madness is divinest sense, which I like. And that's how far I got into this book. I still have a quarter of this book. Sorry about talking about that book for so long. I also wanted to show another book that I got, which is a book about ADHD, which I'm going to use. I think I'm going to do my new series now that I'm done with the CBT series. I might do a series about this, which is based on ACT. It's called the driving lessons for daily life for you with ADHD. And it's based on ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy. And it's a psychologist who made this together with her client, who found out that he had ADHD and was trying to build a better life for himself. So it's kind of funny because it uses like the metaphor of taking your driver's license, which I still don't have, by the way. But it says that first you have to know where you're going. So what direction you want your life to be in. That's part one. And then about the theory of ADHD and its treatments. And then the actual driving lessons. And then what's the next chapter? It's how to keep up your like daily driving. And the end is how to drive safely. But this is just a metaphor for ADHD life. And it's kind of good because it gives like actual examples of things that I have trouble with. Stuff that I procrastinate and that kind of stuff. And it's kind of like a working manual. But I got it from the library, so I can't write in it. But it talks a little bit about, it has like these charts of like where you want your life to go. And what values that you have, like a bullseye of values. And so I read the first chapter today. And it's kind of about avoidance and how to not avoid, to just keep going and not lose steam. So yeah, I think that will be my next project, is doing this for, even if I don't have ADHD, this might be good. I'm going to see what the psychologist tells me tomorrow, because when I was reading this book, I was like, okay, now I've thought about this for a week. I need to keep going on this. I can't just let it be and never know if I have ADHD or autism. Because even if I don't, then at least I'll know myself better, I guess. And I don't think that chance will pop up again, because a lot of providers don't recognize ADHD and autism in women. And so the fact that this person did might mean that I have it. So I'm not going to just throw it away. Since that meeting, I did the ASRS test for ADHD and I got ADD. Because I didn't have enough hyperactivity. So it's predominantly distracted. And then I scored the RADS test. She made me do the short version, but I did actually the long version, and I still ended up with potentially autism. And then I did the WURS test, WURS. I did that, and I was kind of, there was a possibility that I had autism from that. Or ADHD, I don't remember. Anyway. Life is hard. I don't want to think that I have ADHD or autism, and I know that a lot of people have been very supportive on this channel about how, well, you know, maybe we're just different, you know, and that's true. But the fact is that this counselor at my healthcare center did not want to have psychological therapy with me because she said that that is something that my earlier psychologist can take over, and that isn't what I need right now. She said that it's mostly the occupational therapist that I need right now, and she suggested the diagnosis of ADHD or autism. So yeah, I don't really know what to think. Yeah. Okay. Well, so that was about autism. ADHD, I'm not sure, but it does kind of fit. It's just sometimes ADHD and autism kind of say the opposite things. You know, like you have a routine, but you don't have a routine. Or you're impulsive, but you're not impulsive. Or you have tons of ideas, or you're like really attached to one idea. And it's like, I don't know how these things interact with each other, the comorbidities and stuff. So yeah, it's interesting, but it's kind of a jungle. I've been just looking at these books, going crazy. Also, when I was doing the tests at the counselor's office, I realized that like I was doing the test and I was like, oh shit, it looks like I'm relating to a lot of things here. And so it took me ages to do the questionnaire. I was trying not to think too much. But yeah, it took me ages. And then I asked her, oh, why is there a star next to question number 6? She was just like, because there's a star next to question number 6, kind of like laughing to herself. I was like, what does that mean? And then I realized like, oh, she lured me in. Because isn't that what an autistic person would say? Isn't that what like the typical autistic question? Anyway, but like I had to ask that because none of the other questions had any stars. And then when I was a child, I wouldn't speak. So then they were asking me like, do you notice that you interrupt people? Do you often interrupt people? And I was like, yeah, I do now, but as a kid, I didn't know if I was interrupting or not because I was rarely talking. So yeah, I didn't know how to answer that. Another thing that was a little bit not great about my behavior during that visit was that I said that like I'm not interested in dating, and so I can see how asexuality can be seen as an illness, and so a sign that I have autism or whatever. So that kind of sucks. And also the fact that like I'm gay kind of points in a non-neurotypical direction. And the fact that I'm a doctor, a lot of doctors end up having autism, high functioning autism, just from the fact that they managed to get through their whole medical career. So yeah, and so I had a lot of things going against me going into that. What else? Also, when I was in there, she has all of these like shells and rocks on her table, and I get like really distracted by them. She has like a whole collection of rocks, and I want to see more of them because I like rocks, but I didn't because I knew that that would scream neurodivergent, you know, on the screen that is my face. So yeah, I didn't feel too good after that. I did write to my ISFJ friend, the one who told me that he thought that I might be autistic. He was really helpful because I don't think that my parents, because when you come, first of all, I have to go to psychiatry if I'm going to get a diagnosis, and I'll be working with these people in a few months or in a year or something. So I'm a little bit scared of going to the actual clinic. Also, they'll ask about my parents and what my parents think of me as a child. And my parents, I don't think that they'll ever want to be part of such an interview, because I don't think that they want to acknowledge that their children might have psychiatric problems. Also, they live in France, so they'd have to do a Skype meeting, which isn't really easy for them because they're not really technologically inclined. So I don't know how that would work out. Also, like these tests, they really depend on your mood of the day. And since I've been burnt out, sometimes I do feel more distracted. And so maybe I might seem a little bit more ADHD. Or I might seem more autistic because I'm not aware of my surroundings when I'm burnt out. But the counselor thought that I was burnt out because of autism and ADHD, and not the other way. Well, I wasn't depressed. It wasn't like the depression didn't come out of nowhere. That's what her theory is that my burnout is making me depressed rather than the other way around. I've been depressed before my burnout, but I have been burnt out again and again. So yeah, it's a little bit different than your regular case. Also, it's really funny to read my journal, my medical journal, because basically she described me as a very odd person. Okay, I think the INFPs out there would be proud, because yes, I was a very unique person with very like unique experiences and perspectives on life. Very odd. I had to intellectualize things before I was able to experience them. This is like what she wrote. because you can read your medical journal in Sweden. So obviously, as a doctor, I do that. But it really it really hits home like, oh wow, I'm a really messed up person. um, I don't hold it against her, but I do have to say that I think that she's an SJ of some kind, because it's like, um, yeah, pretty bad. Um, she was like, she doesn't have any tools for dealing with burnout. And I was like, okay. Uh, and she did write down the amount of points that I got. Wait, yes, wait. Suddenly everybody's writing. What's going on? I wish you strength. Probably a good decision to be more persistent now. You don't need to figure it all at once. Oh, you're so sweet, everybody. Everybody in the comments. Um, Sounds plausible what the counselor says about burnout. We are all odd. Go INFPs. And when an INTP, yes. Yes, all a work in progress process. Self-discovery, all discovery. Sorry, lol, whoever wants the label. Yes, well, we are all odd. Whether we call it oddness or eccentricity or whatever. I got all the adjectives in my journal. She said that she could easily send me to the psychiatric doctors. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, how, like, am I that easy to diagnose? And she was like, yes. And I was like, I'm not so sure of that, but okay. So she felt that it was blatant. For me, I really don't know. This will take ages before I even get to see a psychiatrist, and before I get a diagnosis, even longer. So I don't think that I'll be diagnosed, if ever. So yeah. I'm trying not to think about it too much, but I did get into this whirlwind of books. I have other books that I'm reading. I'm reading 1984 actually, and it's really good. I didn't know that George Orwell was like a time traveler. Like he knew how social media was going to be and stuff. Except that he didn't know about computers, but he knew about like speech to text. He knew about that before it was even a thing. So yeah, it's pretty scary how we live in a dystopian world. So there's that. I'm also reading, typical me, I'm reading like 10 things at the same time. I'm reading a book about Love Speaks Its Name, Gay and Lesbian Poems. Pretty small, sweet book that I can take around without people knowing that this is a gay book. So that's nice. I also took out The Bell Jar from the library, which I haven't read yet. And I have other books that are sitting on my bookshelf not read. I have a nonfiction book that's called Queer Heroes of Myth and Legend by Dan Jones. And that's pretty exciting because I just read The Song of Achilles, and it was a great book about a queer couple, Patroclus and Achilles. So it's interesting to hear like the actual stories of, heroes of myth and legend. So they're not real, but they're in the mythology. So they've existed since the beginning of time, basically. Oh, wait. Why am I missing all of these things? Wait. Took me about 20 years to get used to the idea of autism ADHD. Don't worry about it. It's not something that goes away when you have it figured out. Yeah, it's true. Like, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, oh, so that's why this. So I might not have the diagnosis, but I might have it. I can't really tell. because as a child I would play on my own, did not know how to play make-believe games with others. I barely spoke. My teachers didn't know that I could speak French. I barely had a friend, and he was a guy. That was as a really young child. So I think that there's something to it. But okay, 20 years. When did you get your diagnosis, Ko Hakala? Because I don't want to get my diagnosis in 20 years. Or like to finally understand my diagnosis in 20 years. Because then I'll be around 50. So yeah. Indeed, embrace and foster the individualness. It's not for everybody to understand. Yeah. I like, in my mind, it's not important, like if I have a diagnosis or not, but it would help in like the real world. If like the people at my work knew about that I had the diagnosis, I might get some kind of accommodation. I might get some kind of help also with driving, because I've been trying to drive for more than 5 years at least, and still haven't gotten my driver's license. And there are all sorts of problems. I don't know if I'm ADHD, if I'm ADD, if I would need medication or not. I have read somewhere that ADHD, like people with autism, medication doesn't work. They work in weird ways on them. So it would explain why my antidepressants make me feel more depressed, if it was that. Because right now I'm slowly going down in dosage and I'm feeling so much better. So I'm on 75 milligrams, but today I only took 50 milligrams, and I had a pretty good day. So I don't think that I need the high dosage that I was prescribed. I'm doing this together with my doctor, so I'm not just doing whatever. Wait. I got diagnosed for ADHD at 40. Oh, congrats, Kydra 546. 456. Yeah, that's a long time. That's a long time. It's kind of like sad to think, like how as children we could have had so much more help. If we'd, maybe we don't need that much help if we're high functioning, but there's so much that's going under the radar that nobody checks. Wait, Joey just wrote just outliers. Okay. I don't know what you mean. Yes, we are outliers. Empo. It took me a long time to get diagnosed, but I hope you can get one. It is worth the time effort. Isn't George Orwell assumed to be an INFP as well? Yes, George Orwell is assumed to be an INFP. And you can tell by the way that he, like the main character is like, it's all about how he has to repress his thoughts and feelings in order to appear. And he has like this burning rage against Big Brother, but it's like he's being inculcated so much that he doesn't really know. And it's about social justice, and he had kind of a perspective mind as an intuitive. So yes, I do believe that that's true. But thanks, Empo. When did you get diagnosed, Empo? Because maybe it's worth the time effort, but I wish that it takes less time than medical school. Because medical school was long. So yeah. Also, I have to be working during the time that I'm waiting, so it's kind of stressful. Wait, what's going on? Empo got diagnosed 3 years ago now at 20. Oh, that's good, Empo. You were quicker than me. I'm older. Kydra 456. Funny story. I finally pushed to get a diagnosis for ADHD because I had 3 accidents in 6 months with inanimate objects. On meds and accident free. Oh, good. As in static. Sorry, inanimate, not the right word. Yes, yes. Well, for me, it was the accident with the kitchen where I burnt. Well, I left the stove on and left the house and burnt my pasta, and then the fire alarm was blasting and everything smelled like smoke for like 3 weeks later. So that was accident number 1. Accident number 2, I lost the keys at work, my work keys, and I realized that I'd lost them into the well, I'd left them in my scrub pockets, and so I had to go through all of the scrubs in the trash and find my keys. So that happened the same week as the stuff was burning. But yeah, so I had 2 accidents, but those were more burnout related accidents. I'm not usually like that, but yeah, I think I was also nervous during my visit at the counselor because I also, my phone dropped to the floor. I felt silly and out of place. So yeah, that probably didn't give a good impression. You know, she was just like ticking off on her list, like, check. Okay. As a kid, I didn't think about it. I knew I was weird from age 10, diagnosis at 21. Got it at 30. Okay. Yeah, right. So I'm nearing 30. So I hope I get my diagnosis within, well, I want it to be done within 2 years because I don't want to be, like, I want to be able to take a break from my residency and not be a specialist. Like, I need help now to do my residency, and I don't know, because I also have to think of the fact that since this counselor at my regular healthcare center won't take me in for a CBT therapy because she doesn't think that that's what I need, or ACT or whatever. Because of that, I had to contact my old psychologist, the one I love, the man psychologist who worked at my corporate healthcare. And I said, I won't be getting any, I won't be getting any therapy. And he said, yeah, okay, you didn't get along with the old man, did you? And I said, no, I did not get along with the 70-year-old psychologist. And also this woman psychologist or counselor, she's not a psychologist, is not taking me for therapy. So we said, okay, we can see if we can meet in August, at the end of August or beginning of September. So he said that he'd call. But since he works with the corporate healthcare, my boss will need to be notified. So, because he's the one who's paying for the corporate healthcare, I can't pay them. So that means that I need to tell my boss that I am actually not getting therapy, but then explain why I also need help. So I don't think I'll be able to get around saying that they think that I might have ADHD or autism, which is kind of a problem because I don't want my boss to know. So I don't know what I'll tell him. He's on holiday right now, so things are going okay. But I don't want to be seen as less capable, especially at my work by my boss. So yeah, or maybe he'll say that like, no, I'm faking it or whatever. I hope not. I hope not. Anyway, my boss actually got interviewed on TV for something about healthcare on the news, national news, and he was put against a digital doctor, and my INFJ friend actually, he's really good at typing people. My INFJ friend typed him ENTJ, which is what I thought. So it makes sense now, everything. The way that he talks about a lot of different things really fast, very clear, very to the point, also very visionary. Like he sees like, okay, healthcare needs to be more digital. We also need to be a lot more in healthcare in order to take care of all of the older people, the older generation that's getting larger. It's interesting to see how my ENTJ boss thinks. So unfortunately, he has FI as his inferior function, which means that he doesn't really understand me. I think that he can see the value in having me in the organization, because he sees how everybody loves me at work. I can't say that about myself. My work colleagues, they're amazing, they love me. So he sees the value in keeping me in the organization because of just the general vibe that I give and that I work hard. But yeah, I don't know what y'all think about that. So let's see. There is a neurological intersection between autism, ADHD, trauma, burnout. Symptoms looks very similar. You can have one or more or all of the above. Yeah. Well, so would be awful to have all of three of those things. I know people who have trauma who have symptoms that look like ADHD and stuff. I don't have the trauma per se, but the trauma of being an INFP in the world, basically. But that's not like a big T, capital T trauma, you know. It's mostly, well, bullying, but that could be because of autism, ADHD. Kids are really good at seeing that kind of thing. So everything does kind of blend in, because if you have autism and ADHD to start with, you might be put into situations where you'll get burnout and easier. And I get burnout every year, like there's something happens and it's burnout time, pretty much. And also you get treated differently by others than other people, and so then that in itself is kind of a form of trauma. It's microaggressions and stuff. And then, well, then you get depressed because of all this, and you get anxiety because of all this, and then you start getting more burnout. Everything just snowballs into a big mess of diagnoses and problems. Wait, CPTSD is trauma too. Don't underestimate the little t. Yes, I do watch Patrick Tehan on YouTube a lot. He talks about childhood trauma. I don't really like some of these other channels that talk about trauma, like Crappy Childhood Fairy. I can't really stand them. But I do like Patrick Tehan because he takes everybody, he's so empathetic to all the pain that these people have suffered, and doesn't make it seem like the victim's fault, and also gives tools to be able to think differently while not condescending people. So I really like Patrick Tehan's videos. I watch them quite a lot. But yes, we shouldn't underestimate the little t, because we all have some kind of trauma. Some of us have, objectively speaking, what most people would call bigger traumas than others, but something that might traumatize one person might not traumatize another. It depends. It all depends. I realize now that my family system was not like the perfect paradise that I thought it was. It might have been, what's a big T? A big trauma that is like big. I don't have the exact definition. Let's see if I can find one. Maybe Kydra 456 has the definition. It's trauma with a big T or little t. It's basically like, well, what people would usually consider a trauma. So, like, natural disasters, violence, abuse in the family, clear abuse, rape, that kind of thing. But small t traumas is all of the things that like produce stress, pretty much, and like sometimes constant stress. So a big T here it says that it's is an event catalyzed by, so big T trauma is related to life-threatening event or situation, and usually there's like a time before the trauma and a time after the trauma. That's most big T's, but big T can also be chronic if you have prolonged repeated abuse. It could be a car accident, it could be the death of a parent. I know that older INFP Insights talked about how when she was young she saw a car accident, and she saw like the person die, basically, I think, and that was a big T trauma, even if it was somebody that she didn't know. A school shooting can also be such a disaster, you know. Little T trauma is stuff that usually doesn't involve violence or disaster, but does create significant distress. So examples might be a breakup, the death of a pet, losing a job, getting bullied, or being rejected by a friend group. So yes, I definitely have gone through little T traumas, but I haven't gone through a big T trauma. The big T trauma was me almost dying at the hospital, but it didn't affect me that much in the end because I got so much good support from my family. And a lot of how we deal with trauma is how much help we got with it, how much understanding we got about the trauma. And lots of abuse survivors don't get a lot of recognition and understanding. I'm thinking of, well, people who get raped and then the people around just say, oh, what were you wearing, or that kind of thing. For me, it was this creep guy. He I wouldn't go so far as call it rape, but it kind of was. We didn't go that far. But then when I told it to one of my guy friends, he was like, oh, but don't you like him? I was like, no, I don't like him. And also he was like, why didn't you scream? You know, that kind of thing. That is traumatic stuff. But for me, it didn't really, it wasn't any violence, and it wasn't like life-threatening in the sense that big T trauma would have been. It was basically just kissing, and I didn't want to, so that counts as sexual harassment, I guess. But that is trauma in itself as well. But getting bullied in itself is a small T trauma, unless you were being really violently hit by these bullies, and then you could count it as a big T. There isn't a strict definition about this. It's just, this is a way to not dismiss people who go through little T traumas. like a major event, as opposed to complex trauma that can come from different smaller events. Oh yes, okay, so now Schumann gets it. Also, thanks, yes. Okay, good. Right, so let's see, now we've gone for a long time, we've gone for more than an hour. Is there any other questions? I've talked for a really long time. Maybe somebody has something to add about ADHD, because I think a lot of you have it. I took the dyspraxia test with my INFJ friend, and we both got dyspraxia, but like in totally different ways. Because for me, it's like really hard to drive a bike. Like I don't know how to do it, and dyspraxia is like you don't know how to do things with your body. Basically, you're clumsy. But for him, it's like he keeps stubbing his toes and forgetting to eat. Well, for me, it's like I don't know how to cut a vegetable. I don't know how to drive a bike. So yeah, we both have dyspraxia, and dyspraxia is something that people with autism often have, which is basically makes you terrible at sports, makes you terrible at all physical things. It took me ages to learn how to tie my shoelaces and stuff, but I could write okay, but it's kind of difficult to do things with my body, you know, like catching balls. I cannot do that. I cannot throw balls. I don't know what I'm doing with my body most of the time. So yeah, that is a thing. Okay, wait, let's see. Nobody is writing anything. Okay, well, I guess that everybody's going to sleep now. Well, everybody in this time zone. Maybe the people who are in other time zones are doing other things with their lives. I don't know. I can't seem to plan lives, so I just go on live and don't know when I'm going to go on next live. Because this weekend I'm going to see Florence and the Machine at a concert, so that's going to be fun. I'm going to be with my ENFJ friend from my internship, and then the weekend after that I'm going to be meeting up with friends and going to the beach. We went to the beach last weekend. It was great because it's actually warm in Sweden. So then I will be, Vondel Pete woke up now. What time is it in Australia? Oh, Schumann, lol, huh? Okay, I was about to end this live, but now I can go on for an hour more, Vondel Pete, if you want. I've now escaped your cult, so now you are welcome to mine. Anyway, I think that it must be pretty early over there in Australia. I think that you missed quite a lot of stuff here because we were talking about this book that I have done 10,000 post-its on. Yes, I've saved up, haven't watched any concert since Aurora, which was like a year and a half ago. So I have been saving up. So yes, I'm going to go see Florence and the Machine for $100 because she always goes to music festivals, and I don't care about anybody else at the music festival. I've never been to a music festival actually, which is kind of weird, but it's because I've never been interested enough in any of the artists. But this time I'm just going to see her. It's a little bit sad my INFJ friend can't come because it was too expensive. We're going to be also where I did my internship, so we'll be staying at, I think that she's an ISTJ that we know. so that cuts a little bit the costs. My ENFJ friend just throws her money in the air. She doesn't care. But yes, I'm going to go see Florence and the Machine. And yes, we're going to go to the beach. I don't often go to the beach, and I've rarely gone swimming in like in nature. Like I've gone swimming in pools when I was growing up, but I haven't been living near a sea or by lakes. So we were in the lake last time, and I got all sorts of seaweed in my legs. Anyway. So yes, Gorvo, it's going to be therapeutic. It's going to be nice. I can feel like I'm on holiday, even though I'm not on holiday. I work. So yes, but I don't care about any other artists except for Florence and the Machine. I hope it's going to be good. We bought the train tickets and everything. I've never been to a real music festival for the same reason. I always wait for side shows, but I think Florence and the Machine is worth it. Yes. I don't care about anybody else. I was going to go to like Stockholm's Lollapalooza, but like that costs way too much money. I could have gone see Mumford and Sons for like the same like Mumford and Sons. I could have seen in 1975. I could have seen blah blah blah. I could have seen like 5 different artists that were interesting for the same price as going to see Florence. And yet I'm seeing Florence only. My one and only. So yeah, that's it. Vondelpiet and Gorvo, I guess that you're like, it must be like 2 different days for you guys. Well, I mean, yes, Vondelpiet, you are already tomorrow over there in Australia, but I think that Gorvo, you're, I don't know how many hours time difference you guys have. It's kind of funny. Because I think that you've got like more than, you must have like 12 hours difference at least. So yeah, but Vondelpiet, do you have any questions? Or Gorvo 31, which is actually Carm. Sorry, I keep reading just the names that you have on here. So 3:30 p.m. here. Oh, okay. And it's like, what? Is it 4 a.m. Vondelpiet? I don't know. So yes, you have around 12 hours difference. You are from the future. Yes. I'm from the future to Carm as well. Here it's 10:30 in the evening. 10:30 p.m. Let's see. Any questions about ADHD, autism, INFPs, whatever? Because otherwise I'm going to just turn this off, I guess. I don't have anything else to do except to read this, like, hyper focus on this autism book, which is ironically very, very ADHD of me. But yes, today I worked from home, so that's why I actually did not work. I actually went to the library instead, and like I got a huge pile of books. So I have, well, 1984, which I'd had since before. I have The Love Speaks Its Name, which is a poetry book. I have the ADHD book that I was telling you guys about. I also got this book about old pictures from the town that I live in. Pretty nice pictures. I don't want to dox myself, but they're from the past, so I don't think that you would recognize. Then I bought this book for like $1 about medical tourism, which is kind of cool. About people who like leave to do medical tourism. Let's see, maybe I can put you guys down a little bit. Oops. You see all my piles of books. I also got because it was, I also got this book that happened to be in French, Madame Bovary by Flaubert. I've always wanted to read that book, actually, because it's about women from a long time ago. Here I've got this book, really good, actually, by Monica Heasey. 6:25 a.m. Okay, well, that's better than 4 a.m. Not too much to say about ADHD. Sometimes my friend and I joke, is it ADHD or is it extroverted intuition? Oh, I feel that all the time. I'm like, me trying to explain to the counselor that this is just how I think. That is a pain. Random question, but do you have any LGBT book recommendations apart from what you're already reading currently? Well, I told you guys about the Song of Achilles, which I've now read, which was good. I don't actually know the mythology behind it though, so let's see. I didn't show you actually the queer book here. It says it's called Queer Heroes of Myth and Legend by Dan Jones. But this is just like non-fiction. I haven't actually been reading a lot of such books. Do not read the book binder because it's. I didn't know I was LGBT, but I couldn't read it past halfway because apparently it is homophobic. So don't read that. I'm going to be reading this Swedish book, so this doesn't help you because it's in Swedish, but Emma Hamberg, it's called Je m'appelle Agneta, which is about a woman who goes to the French countryside to take care of two older men who are in a gay couple. And then her adventures in France, basically. So that will be interesting to read. I don't think I know any gay books or LGBT books. I need to think about it. I mean, basically, there are the classics like Alison Bechdel's comic book. That's what I want to read next on my LGBT list. I do want to watch Heartstopper and stuff. Madame Bovary is a fave book of mine. Okay, you will watch the video back later. Yeah. Well, it was too early to wake up at 4 a.m. for this. This was just a random me monologue. No, I can't think of any LGBTQ books. My oldest and closest buddy is extroverted censor and likely ADHD with emphasis on hyper. Haha. Or ha, sorry. We've gotten along so well since the 80s, just a reminder of how opposites can be an ideal team. Yeah. I do like I like ESFPs who have ADHD. They're fun. They're fun. And they don't judge me. SPs rarely judge people, I think, in general. But mostly ESFPs. Well, they might judge you, but like you always know where you stand with them. Like either they hate you or they love you. And if they love you, then good, you know. But yes, censors have ADHD as well. It's just a little bit different. But for me, it's like I did not score very high on the hyperactivity part. The thing that gave me most hyperactivity is that I keep interrupting people and when they talk, and I keep completing their sentences, which, well, is a little bit rude. But otherwise, I wasn't really getting much for the, like, needing to move kind of thing. The typical sentence is like, I feel driven as if by a motor. And like, no, I don't feel like I have a motor inside me. So that's why I do not qualify as HD. I'm not an HD. I'm not in high definition. I'm only I'm in 2D. I am ADD, according to this screening test, which doesn't mean much, but it meant that it was important to go further, which I first said no to, and then I'm like, a week later now I call them to see if I can say yes. I can't decide on anything. ESFP is what he likely may be from my non-expertise. Yeah, that's my experience. I like ESFPs. I know 2 colleagues at my work who are ESFPs. They're really obnoxious, but really fun. And they kind of give life to this boring job. And they're missed when they're not there, because right now they're on holiday, so now they're only boring introverts. So nothing's happening. Everything is just so boring. But yeah, I do like the calm that it brings. Because the 2 ESFPs, they also fight over the same cup in the lunchroom, and it's just like they're joking with each other the whole time. But it's like, every day, can't you just like take it easy someday, like be quiet? But they are really fun, and they get FI, which SJs don't. I don't know what I'm going to say to my ENTJ boss, but it was interesting because my INFJ friend is good at visual typing, and he was like directly, like as soon as he saw my boss, he's like, he's an ENTJ, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought too. So yeah, I remember having 2 different ESFPs in my team in an old, boring admin role, and I remember feeling very protected by them. Oh, I like ESFPs. I was kind of like unsure at the beginning, like if I like them or not, because it feels like they're always teasing me. But then I realized that they actually like me under all that, like teasing. And they definitely made life a lot better for that time. Yeah, I miss my ESFP colleague who is now, she's now at the orthopedic department. So she'll come back in December or something. But I do miss her. She was really a great help when things were going to shit. Funny thing is that he typed as INFJ though. I don't know. Well, wouldn't it make sense that you would type as your opposite? You know, a lot of ESTPs mistype as INFJs. So ESFP, yeah, it's feeling. It's not exactly the same. It's not exactly opposites, but they don't have much in common, do they? I think that SE users, like, they think that they're using intuition because they're aware that they're using intuition and they keep getting tripped up by it. So I think that they're aware that they use NI, but they don't know like the full extent of what NI is for actual INFJ, you know? So I would say that it's more likely that he's an ESFP. But I do know that INFJs can present a pretty good persona. I thought that my INFJ friend at first was ENFP or ESFP or something like that. But then I realized that he wasn't. So yeah. And then he started learning about himself. So he thought that he was an ENFJ, and then he went over to think that he was an INFJ. And now he's at peace with that. So that's good. So yeah, we do like sensors, even though I've kept trashing sensors in this video, or rather I've been trashing extroverts for being neurotypical. But okay. Right. I showed you my whole book list? No, I haven't shown you the bell jar, but if I showed you the bell jar, my phone will fall over again, like it did early in the video, so I don't want you guys to get hurt again. I also have more books, but they're like in another shelf. I don't know how many books I'm allowed to borrow at this library. It's ridiculous. I have so many. Also, I lent Never Let Me Go from Kazuo Ishiguro to my INFP friend, so he's reading that, so I still have to give that back. And then I have one that's called How to Be Human. I forget the name of that person. And I have a Devotions by Mary Oliver. Love her poems, really good. But like, I have to stop getting books, so I returned some of my books, but I have too many books. Osamu Dazai, No Longer Human? No, that is not the book I'm talking about. I am reading The Setting Sun. Wait, by who? By Osamu Dazai? I don't know who Osamu Dazai is. I shall look. But I can't do it right now because I have too many books at my house and I'm going to lose them all. So I cannot go to the library again. I've decided that I have banned myself from the library for a short while. But also because they have summer hours now, so they close at 5, and it's only because I worked home today that I was at the library. Otherwise, I can't. Oops. Okay, well, Pete, did you mean to write that to somebody else? As a kid, I was told not to read multiple books at a time, but now as an adult, no one can stop you from reading 10 at a time. Yeah, hooray. Well, there are many that I haven't started. I just picked up a bunch of books because I thought they have longer they have longer renting periods, borrowing periods for the summer. So it's 10 weeks at a time. So and because I thought, well, now since they'll have shorter opening hours, I might as well just take all of this, hoard all of the books, and then go through them one by one. But I am shit at going through them one by one. So I've been reading a little bit of that queer book. I've been reading a little bit of the queer poems. I've been reading the devotions poems. I've been reading the autism book. And I've been reading 1984. And I have a ton of other books to read. And I've been reading the ADHD book, which I think is going to be the next series. Because it's well split up in different parts and different chapters. And it's big, so I might be able to, once I can flip the image around, I might be able to like show the pictures and like, maybe I could redraw the pictures and write it in English. I don't know. Because I think that this is interesting for both people with ADHD and INFPs in general. Because we have a hard time with TE things. And so yeah, I think that this might be useful. I don't know much about ACT though. I did learn a little bit about it during a class. It was a lot of mumbo jumbo, I felt. But maybe it's not. Maybe because it's supposed to be a CBT, take you to the next level. Talking about like your values and how to attain those values and how to provoke a change in your life. So that's where the commitment comes in. Oh, I'm sorry that you guys have all these books in your face. I don't know how to change it because I have more books that are blocking the way for these books. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's see. What's going on? Ah. Okay. Okay, now this is the second time I've done this. Time to end this, but okay. Okay. Swimming in books. They'll need to find some land for a time. Yeah, I'm swimming in books. Wait, what has been told twice? Wait, you've been having a discussion that I haven't followed. Arthur Hessler, MD, the horse and buggy doctor. Okay, it's about a doctor. That's interesting. I've never heard of that book. Are these your book recommendations, everybody? Being a doctor in the early 1900s. Oh yeah, I like that. I like, because I was reading the diary of, well, I was watching the series with Daniel Radcliffe with my mom a few years ago, where he's a young doctor in Siberia and he's trying to take care of like amputating people's legs, like real bloody stuff. And poor guy, like he's only studied in St. Petersburg and he knows how to read books and stuff, but he doesn't know how to deal with being in Siberia. And then he gets addicted to cocaine because he can't deal. But yeah, that's also set in the same time period, except that it's in Siberia. So yeah, I'm interested in all these doctor books about historical, also young adult books. I still count as a young adult, okay? Anybody who's under the age of 35 is a young adult, I would say. Maybe you could count as a young adult up until you're 50 or until you're 90. It doesn't matter. I like young adults because it's easier to read, that's all. Ingrid and anyone else, have you read and recommend a book that feels like reading your own thoughts, even more articulated? Well, I was talking about how Emily Dickinson was kind of how I see my thoughts. Basically, for me, it's watching Dulles' videos. I don't have a book that articulates my thoughts. I don't know. In general, it's INFPs writing books. That's thing. The Little Prince, also written by an INFP. It's kind of the soft world of that. I would definitely say that for my INFJ friend, that would have been Claire and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro, because we now think that he's an INFJ. All the names by Jose Saramarango felt pretty INFP to me. Yeah. Well, Carm, do you have any suggestions? Because you asked that question, maybe you have something. I don't know. We are too unique. We cannot know. I don't know. I just feel like when I'm reading Emily Dickinson's poems, that's the way that I would write a poem too. But maybe it's not, like the themes and stuff maybe aren't really something that I would relate to. Because I'm not religious and I don't. We were talking about this with my INFJ friend actually, about because if you guys have watched my video about socionics, on the socionics page, there's a person who looks exactly like me from the past. And so my INFJ friend had found some INFJ actor who talked and was exactly like him, and it was eerie for him. Yes, Don't Push the River and Burst Out Laughing by Barry Stevens. Now all of this is going to push me to go to the library and get even more books that would make my phone fall even more. under the weight of all these books. Okay. Emily resonates with me too. Yes. Yes, I like Emily Dickinson. I can't really think of like a character, like a writer or character from a book that would make me think. I can't really think of any. She was a Gestalt therapist, Barry. Oh, wait, Barry is a woman's name? Does anyone here read ebooks? This live exchange of books always comes to an end, but it's nice at the end. Well, yes, it's like when I don't know what to talk about, then I turn to the books. But yes, I talked a really long time this time. I'm trying to think, because I can't think of any book that has. Obviously, there must have been some book that has been really relatable. I don't know. Vando Pete reads ebooks when he's traveling. What are the books that you don't want to show off on your bookshelf? Okay, well, I don't know. Or does that mean that you want to show off all your books except for some? I felt kind of embarrassed going to the library and just like taking out all the books on autism and ADHD from the psychology section. I was just like picking the books, and then my phone fell, and then I was like, oh my god, I'm like stereotype ADHD, looking at the ADHD. Yeah, and so there was some guy who was sitting there just watching me. Anyway, because I guess that nobody actually goes to the psychology part of the library. And so he was sitting there because it was like a quiet part of the library, but I was there causing chaos. I don't know, I was in such a frenzy. Like once I got one, I needed to get 5. And then I trimmed it down to 2 books because they were not good. I still haven't gotten any response from Vando Pete. Oh, Super Cats or INFP. Hi, nice to see you streaming again. Yeah, Super Cats is one of the most loyal, most loyal subscribers who has followed me since I started medical school, basically, before I started talking MBTI. So yes, all these people so near to my heart. Half for ebooks is like comedy books or books that don't make me seem smart. Ah, okay. I gave my ISFJ friend an anatomy book that's like really old and like in leather and stuff, so that he could put it on his bookshelf just so that he could look smart. So he has it on his bookshelf. I didn't have any use for it. Yeah. Well, so I mean, I just put my books on the bookshelf just to make it seem like I read books. But I used to not read books. Now I'm reading books, so now I feel less of a fraud. But there were several years where I had not read a single book outside of well, my medical classes. So now to compensate, I read like 10 books at a time. Super Cat, I think you might confuse me with somebody, but I've been watching you for some time already. Well, you've been watching me for a long time. That's all I'll say. There is somebody else that I do confuse with, but both of you have followed me for more than a year, basically, because I started talking about. I started getting really into MBTI and everything a year ago. So I don't know because I was making videos about, well, how to deal with medical school and MBTI, and not about, well, actual just MBTI. I was talking about synesthesia and other kinds of stuff. But yes, even though I might have confused you with somebody, I do recognize your name and I see you. Yeah, so that's it for now. I think I shall stop with this live before I start making my phone fall a third time. Any final thoughts? My final thoughts are that I don't know what's going on in my brain. That's my final thoughts. Because reading this book today was just like, my God, what have I done with my life? Who am I? I've gone to an existential and identity crisis at the same time. And I don't know how I'll manage going to work tomorrow. Because I'll have to tell my boss next week about whatever it is that's happening. So not really looking forward to that. But I am looking forward to Florence and the Machine. So maybe next time that I do a video, I can tell you all about that. Okay, well now let's see if I can, I think I need to unplug the, wait, I'm unplugging the computer. And then I need to unplug the phone from the computer. Okay, and, okay, wait. Gosh, I've imprisoned myself in the electronics. Locked in the screen. Okay. Right. Wait, now people are writing. It was good to finally catch one of these live chats. Was always at work when getting notified of these. Yeah, well, I happened to, I wrote, like, I posted the preview thing an hour before, which is like not at all a long time. But I thought, like, okay, it's the middle of the week, maybe I'll catch somebody new. I don't know. Perhaps you can also film some of the concert, if I heard you correctly. Yes, I will be filming parts of the concert, mostly because my INFJ friend is also a big Florence and the Machine fan. And he wants me to like send him the clips. But yeah, I don't know how to actually put the clips together into a cohesive movie. Maybe somebody who's a little bit more technical savvy than me can help me. But I don't know how to do that. If there's like software or something that you use to edit videos, because I don't know what to do. Everything costs so much. What's going on? I hope you have a great time at the show. Yeah, such a pity I've come at the very end of this stream. Yeah, I know. It's like, it's 11 p.m. here. And Vondel Pete woke up at 6 a.m. for this. Anyway, just a daily reminder. You are awesome, an inspiration. Oh, thank you, Lars Dropblood. I like seeing a fellow Swedish person on here. Enjoy Florence and the Machine. Glad I caught some of the stream. Yes. Glad you guys were here. Wait, what's going on? I'm constantly confused. I don't know when to do next live. Because you guys are like all across the planet. So I guess that next time will also be kind of just spontaneous like this. Because I'll be occupied every weekend until I go on holiday in France. And I'll be in France for 2 weeks, and then I'll return. and then I'll be spending like a weekend at a friend's house. So I don't know when next time would be. Maybe at the end of August, something like that. Otherwise, it might be in the middle of a week, depending on my mood. Let's see. Actually, I had to wake up early because the repairman is coming to my apartment soon. It's a nice coincidence you were streaming. Aw. Poor Vonda Peters always has to wake up early. Okay. Well, so that's it for today. Have a great day, guys. Bye. I don't know how to turn this off though. Wait. There. Bye.